Hi, this is the Outsourcing and Offshoring Philippines podcast, and our guest for today is the CEO and founder of RemoteStaff Philippines. And his name is Lance Harvey, and yeah, we're so glad to have you join us today.
Thank you very much, Henry. Thanks for having me on the call. But just one little correction there. I'm not the founder. I'm the CEO.
All right, no
The
problem.
founder is a guy called Chris Jankulovski. So he's quite actively. He's the chairman now, but he's still actively involved in the business. But I pretty much run day-to-day operations, and we collaborate on a regular basis. He flies into Manila once
Mhm.
every month. So yeah, but yeah, so day-to-day operations is run by myself. So yeah.
Sounds great, and welcome to the show. And yeah, so to start things off, I just wanted to ask, can you give us a little bit more background about yourself and tell us about what you guys do at RemoteStaff?
Okay, great. So my background is way back, engineering background in electronics and software development. But I moved into the recruitment space back in '97 in Australia. So I was brought up in the UK, moved to Australia in '91,
Mhm.
had an engineering career, and then moved into recruiting. So I've been in the recruitment game for a long time in Australia and around the world. And I had my own firm in Sydney, so I lived there. And then now I'm actively involved in RemoteStaff. I'm running the show here. So yeah, that's kind of me, really. I mean, what we do at RemoteStaff is we provide Filipino professionals that work from
Mhm.
either home or from our office here in Makati in all sorts of areas, primarily anything that can be done over the internet, anything that can be done behind a computer,
Mhm.
from bookkeeping, accounting, web development, graphic design, and data entry, CAD work,
Mhm.
anything which can be done on a computer and can be delivered over the internet. We provide those kind of professionals. We're not a BPO per se. We're more like a contract recruitment agency. So what we do is we provide the resource, the
Mhm.
individual, and then they would work directly with our clients as like an extension of their workforce, as if they were in their office, really, because we provide tools and transparency around their work.
Mhm.
But they get them at a lot cheaper price, and also there's a bigger pool for them to access because, as you know, the Philippines has got a lot of graduates, a lot of professionals. So these are the advantages that we provide our clients, and majority of our clients in Australia, 80%. We have clients in the UK, US, and New Zealand.
Oh, and yeah, that covered a lot of things that I was going to ask you, but that's all right.
Okay, sorry.
It's fine. And
Yeah.
well, I just wanted to ask, can you tell us about a little bit more about remote staff? Why did you guys end up choosing the Philippines versus
Okay.
countries that have that can provide the same services?
Sure. Good question. Well, like most things in life, sometimes they just start by accident. So the founder, Chris Jankulovski, he came out to the Philippines. He was working for a company in Australia. They were having trouble sourcing enough people. They were growing, and so he was sent out to the Philippines to set up a team, I guess, for this company. It was mostly in customer support. While he was here, this is back in 2006, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
He did that project, and then he realized, oh, there's an opportunity here. And I think outsourcing for small businesses was just kicking off. The big
Mm-hmm.
boys have been doing outsourcing for years. We know about that. They
Yeah.
source them, they send them to mostly to India and then to Mexico and all these places. So, but there wasn't those kind of options for the small to medium-sized businesses. So Chris thought this is a great opportunity, and so need drives sort of
Mm-hmm.
a reason to do something. So he set the company up, but he focused primarily. He did something quite different. He focused not just providing people from working from an office, which most BPOs do. He provided people who can work from home. So remote staff is probably the biggest provider of remote staff. We're staffing really literally home-based remote staffing, rather than just in an office environment. Although we do have clients that use staff which are based in our office. So that was the impetus, and the company kind of grew from strength to strength year on year.
Mm-hmm.
And then he moved. He was himself remote for a long time, and then he got himself an office here in Makati, and then so we've been kind of growing ever since. But the need was really to try to provide clients in Australia who were struggling to find resource with a solution from the Philippines.
And around what year did the founder found RemoteStaff?
He started, I think it's 2007. It's funny how things work, serendipity. I was actually
Yeah.
living at the time in the UK, and when he was starting, he was trying to promote his business, and he was doing it through attending trade shows around the world. So he happened to be attending a trade show that I was visiting at the time called AdTech in London, and I was living in London at the time, or in England. And I was learning about internet marketing and so on, and this was a prominent exhibition and conference in digital marketing, and he was there with his little booth. It was him and his wife Rico, who's a Filipino, and I was just drawn to him, and we kind of struck up a conversation. It's only years later that I actually ended up in the Philippines, but that's kind of how it all kind of works sometimes. But yeah, he started his business in around 2007.
Wow, and yeah, it seems that you guys have been in the business for a long time, and that's very rare for people who try and start out their own, I guess you can say, outsourcing firm.
Yeah.
But not exactly in your case. So yeah, I'm glad that you guys are here with us today.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, we're happy to be here. We love. I mean, both Chris and I, we've kind of fell in love with the Philippines. We fell in love with the Filipinos, and I consider myself a Filipino in some respects, in the sense that I can relate to the mindset and the mind share, and I've even though I've come from the West and I've got that sort of Western experience and upbringing, I do embrace the Filipino culture, and we've kind of found that happy medium. So we're very, very happy to be part of part of this country and what it's got to offer. So yes, I think both me and Chris are very much aligned with providing a service to both ends. So it's not just about servicing our clients, but we really are committed to servicing our candidates as well. So we want to make sure that we provide the best experience for our candidates who are working on behalf of our clients. So it's a two-way street. So yeah, so very happy to be offering that service around the world.
Can you tell us about your staff? I mean, your name is RemoteStaff, so I'm curious to how you guys find them, and when do you hire people who are in office, and when do you hire people who work from home?
Very good question. So we have a team. I mean, we have a lot of internal staff. We have 5 departments. One of our departments is recruitment department, which is manned by recruiters. So they're the sourcers. So we advertise on all of the job boards, JobStreet, Monster, Indeed, and so we also, over the years, you can imagine, we've collected a lot of resumes. So I think our database is over 150,000 candidates.
Wow.
So that's kind of how we're really out there. We've kind of got a lot of exposure to the candidate base. We get referrals. We advertise also on Facebook. We do a lot of social marketing as well. We do a lot of content creation as well. We have a marketing team that produces a lot of content. So we use Facebook primarily for candidate acquisition, as well as all the job sites and also our referral system. So that gives us more than enough people to a pool of candidates to be able to pick from. So what was the other question? What was the other part of your question? I forgot.
So well, you answered how you guys find the staff. I was just wondering, when do you hire?
Oh yeah, who do we hire? Who do we hire for office space and who do we hire for home base?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. So we give an option to our clients. So when they come to us, we say to them, because we only have a certain type of offering. We don't do project-based work. So if a client says, look, we need a website developed, we can't help them, because we are committed to giving regular employment to our candidates. And so the only thing we can offer is what we call full-time, which is 40 hours a week for a long-term assignment, or 20 hours a week, which is part-time. So, and the other option we offer is home-based or office-based. So it really depends on the client. So if they're looking for a part-time, they're looking for one person, we don't recommend an office-based solution. We know, because it's going to cost them, because with an office-based solution, there is a fee that we have to charge to provide them with a desk, with a computer, with internet access, and so on, because we have running costs to cover. So we try to save the client money and say, look, the person can work just as well from home. But if you're wanting to scale your team, let's say you are looking to maybe outsource a small part of your team, let's say you want to build to 5, 10, 15, 20, then perhaps an office solution will be a better way to go. So it really depends on the client's needs. that that either be office based or be home based. In some cases, when there's sensitive data involved, or they might just want to go office based, or if they need additional supervision, we can also offer an office based solution. But one thing that we don't do, and this is why we're different from BPO perhaps, is we don't co-manage the staff. We only provide HR services to bridge the cultural differences and make sure that the communication is flowing well between the client and the contractor, and also to make sure the payments are all done. And we provide a lot of tools which we've built in-house to allow the client to figure out what the person is doing in the way of screenshots. And we have a compliance team that monitors attendance and all these sorts of things. So we give a lot of transparency to our clients to be able to see what people are doing. But we don't advocate micromanagement. We advocate trying to build trust. But there's always some sort of data around that, so that if there's an issue, they can always reference the data.
Yeah, and well, on the topic of your clients, you mentioned a while ago that they're mostly from Australia. Can you tell us about what kind of clients you guys usually get, or where do you get them?
Well, yeah, good question. So we primarily we leverage digital marketing primarily as our way to reach out to the market. We are shifting that approach. Recently, we're going to be we're using different methods to reach out to the audience, to the market. But the type of clients that we get, so their businesses vary, so they could be small businesses, it could be just one-man bands, people have they're just independent freelancers, whatever, or it could be a small business that's got 5 staff, 10 staff, 15 staff, all the way up to 100 staff. We don't necessarily work with really large companies because they tend to work with more the BPO standard setup. They need more compliance and so on. So really, and also we're a little bit of an incubator. So let's say there's a startup. We do a lot of work with startups. So they want to say, okay, they're cash poor, so they want to save money. So they come to us and say, look, we're kicking off here. We're going to definitely scale. We want your help. So we would then get them in our office, and then we would scale them. We've done that with quite a number of companies. We got them up to about 50, people. And then they've gone and incorporated their own company in the Philippines, and then they've moved their staff to their own setup. So the kind of clients vary from somebody who's going to hire one person all the way to people who are going to hire 50, 20, 100 people sometimes. We've had clients who have 100 people with.
Wow.
So, we're on the small end of the scale. Like I said, we're not a BPO that kind of can say, okay, we can give you thousands, because we won't be able to service that number of people. We're just not set up for that.
Yeah, but I mean, hundreds of employees for one client, that's still pretty incredible. That's a big size.
That is. And you can imagine it's all about, it's really an operational problem then, because, you don't want to water down your quality, because as you scale, because if we take on huge amounts of work, unfortunately, we can't clone people. We have, you know what it's like. You can't, you might have a really good person and you say, okay, I just needed someone exactly the same as that.
Yeah.
Well, that may or may not happen because, they're not going to be the same. So, and it's the same thing, I'm very careful not to overpromise. I always underpromise and overdeliver, because it's really about the quality, and we really want to have our clients for the long run. Therefore, we've really got to, deliver to the promise. And the only way we can do that is to be very careful in our filtering and our qualifying process, and making sure that we have all of because basically what happens, the client will get a compliance team that will make sure that the contractor is doing what they're doing. But they also get an account manager, which is going to be with them for the duration of their journey with us. So the whole reason behind that is that we provide a lot of support after the hire, because hiring is one thing, but then the real work starts when they onboard them and they start giving them work. And so that's really, that's a difficult thing to get right sometimes. So that's why it's very intensive on manpower within our own company. So scaling it, you can imagine, would be a big undertaking to keep the quality good.
Of course. And well, I just wanted to ask about your clients. Let's say you have a new or someone who's looking into outsourcing or into working with you guys. What can I expect from you guys from the beginning all the way to onboarding already and having my processes, or having my business ran with you guys?
Okay, good question. So we've actually got a very, very defined process. So the first point of contact is that we will send you a form, a job description form. It's actually just a typical job description form, which identifies key skill sets and experiences that you're looking for. We will also be asking questions about why is that role kind of, how's it come up? Why is there a need for it? So we do a needs analysis primarily with the client, because sometimes clients really may be thinking, well, we need this, but when you get to go through this journey of figuring out why, they may need somebody totally different. That's one thing. And secondly, maybe they don't even need somebody, So we really try to get that fleshed out at the beginning, because if we don't get that right, then the rest of it's going to fall over. So we've got to be aligned with the real need of the client. So that's done through first a job spec, and then our business developers would jump on the phone and have this qualification process with our prospect. Once that's, and also explain how we work, because it's important that we set the right expectations. We make sure that they understand that, it's going to be, ongoing, there's going to be this amount of support, they're going to have access to the portal and all these sorts, and how the billing's going to work, and all of those things are explained so that, if there's any questions that can be answered at the upfront. And so once that's all, bedded down and the skill sets have been all qualified out, then that job spec is then sent to my recruitment team, who would then review that and then start sourcing candidates against that. And then those candidates will get endorsed to the account managers, who would then endorse those to the client, set up interviews, and then the client will review these people, have a Skype call with them. And then if they're happy with, with the candidate, then they would, sign up an agreement with us, and then we get them started. So there's a two-way contract process. So the candidate will also get a contract they have to sign with us, and then the client will get one, and then everybody knows what's going on. And on the first day and for the first month, the account manager will be checking in very regularly to make sure that everything's running smoothly, that any questions have been answered, any misunderstandings have been taken care of, because that's a very critical period of the relationship to make it successful long term. And also, we offer the option for the client, if it's not working out, say, look, pull the plug now and we'll get you somebody else. So we're really transparent and we're really upfront about it, because if things are not going well at the beginning and, you kind of get a feel for it, then we say, look, it's better that we kind of, let's try again. And because we want to get it right for the client, in the long run. So there's no real lock-in contracts with us, but we'd like to get that journey to be, a long-term journey, and we do that by qualifying the need at the beginning.
Yeah, and it sounds like a great process, and I'm sure it's worked for you guys. I mean, you guys have been in operation for 11 years, so yeah.
Yeah, it's been working for us. I mean, we've been growing year on year. I mean, and we're quite transparent about even our contractor numbers. You can find them on our website. So, Chris's philosophy has always been about transparency. Mm-hmm. So, we're happy to sort of, give you whatever you need. We want it to be an honest and a trustful relationship with all our clients.
And yeah, so I just wanted to know more about how you guys, how your relationship is like with your employees. So can you tell us a little bit more about that, and how you make sure that they're working on point and they like working with remote staff?
Right. So there's our contractors that work on behalf with our clients, and then there's our internal staff. So let's talk about our contractors first. So the contractors, really what we encourage is regular communication, and we do a lot of setting of expectations with our new clients to make sure that they understand that how Filipinos work, that the Filipinos need feedback, and then they need constructive feedback. They need to be told that, and they don't like to be left alone on their own too long. Because they want to know if they're doing the right thing. So a lot of calibration, so a lot of communication. So once that relationship is established, because you remember, it's a person-to-person situation. So the client is a person, the contractor is a person. So once that relationship is in place and they've figured out how to work with each other, then they just do it. So every client has their own kind of way of doing that. Some people tend to be more engaging. Some people are less engaging, but they kind of figure it out. Yeah. And we're there to help that relationship to be smooth. So that on the subcontractor side, we don't actually get involved in the delivery of the work. That's between the two parties. We're just simply there to facilitate the HR part of it, of the relationship. So if there's an issue, then what would happen is if a contractor, because the account manager that's assigned, they're assigned two-way. They're assigned also to the contractors and also to the client. So if they don't want to talk to each other, if there's some sort of dispute, then the contractor will talk to the account manager because they may feel more comfortable if it's a sensitive subject, and then they would then relay it to the client repurpose it so it's more easier to take in, I guess. So this is where the cultural differences happen, and this is how we kind of overcome them by having an account manager as an intermediary. So that's so they seem to work well. And then if there's any, and also what the account managers do, there's a regular what I call a round robin that the account manager has to, even if there's nothing going, any issues, the account manager has to check in regularly, with the subcontractor, say, hey, is everything going okay? And then, is there anything you want to help with, and so on. And the same with the client. So there's regular contact between them and our company, so we know what's going on. Because our job is to make sure that people are not just disgruntled and not sharing that, or there's a problem and they're not. So we want to get on top of it and nip it in the bud as soon as possible. The sooner you do it, the sooner things can get resolved. So that's how we work with the contractors and the clients. Now, the internal staff that we have, the way I run it, I ran many companies, and my approach is very much about transparency and about collaboration. So I encourage a problem-solving, collaborative, zero middle management away to solving problems. So it's really a solving problems kind of culture. We want to address the problem. I try very hard to minimize the internal politics, and it's really about, look, let's just all mess in. We have a problem. It's a global. It's a company-wide problem. Whoever department has it, and let's collaborate together and let's solve this problem. So it's that kind of approach that we take to internal management. I have managers that work for me, but they are pretty much they're very much like me, where we get our sleeves up and we get in and we help. Now I'm not a sort of a hands-off kind of a manager. I get in there and I work hand in hand with the people at the grassroots level. So, and that seems to work really, really well, and people feel empowered. They feel that they're learning something, that they're moving ahead. And so, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I run the internal teams, if you like. And obviously we have our social events and so on. So we create this kind of a family culture. And that's kind of, and seems to work very, very well. People want to stay with us. They're empowered. They're motivated, and they feel that they come to work and it's a good experience,
Yeah, that sounds great. And thank you so much for sharing all that. And well, we're kind of almost out of time. So before we end the interview, can you tell us about, for those people who are interested in talking with you, Lance, and getting in touch with RemoteStaff, can you tell us how they can do that?
Sure. I mean, the best way to get in touch with me directly is to just reach me by email. My email is just Lance, LANCE, @remotestaff.com.au. Alternatively, if you want to know a little bit more about us and our company, RemoteStaff, you can just Google it, or just go to www.remotestaff.com.au. And then, I mean, it's, and also, like I said, we're all over the internet as well. So yeah, there's also reviews about us. We always invite, people to come and, talk to us anytime, even if I can't help someone on their remote staffing journey, if there's anything else I can help people with, then, please reach out anytime, and, happy to lend a helping hand.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so for those curious about your offices here in the Philippines, can you tell us where it's at?
Yeah, so our head office is in down in Makati. We're in De La Costa Street. It's in a building called Trafalgar Plaza. We have the whole floor on the 27th floor. So if anybody's walking around and happen to be in the vicinity, pop into our office and say hello.
Awesome, man. Yeah, well, that's all our questions for today, and we really appreciate the time, Lance. I really enjoyed this interview.
Thanks, Henry. It's been a pleasure to talk to you too. And if you're actually around as well, buddy, pop in and say hello, and let's have a coffee together.
All right, no problem. And yeah, for those listening, that was the CEO of RemoteStaff here in the Philippines, and his name is Lance Harvie. We just finished talking about RemoteStaff and all the good things that they do for their clients and employees. And if you'd like to know more about the outsourcing industry here in the Philippines, please do visit our website at www.offshoring.com.ph. This is the Outsourcing and Offshoring Philippines podcast, and I am Henry Acosta. Thank you for listening.